guys? It's another edition of Timeout on 24 Flix. I'm your host, Peter Blake, along with my co-host, Mr. Chris Cove. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing good, man. How are you?
Doing great. Lots to talk about here locally. We'll talk about your Tampa Bay Buccaneers with J.C. Allen, a pewter report. Also get into the Miami Dolphins and Jacksonville Jaguars and go around the National Football League. Also talk some NBA, some big news there, and also college football. And we cannot forget about World Cup soccer because, Chris, I know you're a big-time soccer guy. In fact, I got to go to that really quick. What have you thought about this World Cup so far?
Phenomenal. A lot of surprise games. A lot of teams I thought would go through are gone. Portugal, Germany's long gone. England is gone. It's been a fabulous World Cup. Great game today with Messi coming through for Argentina, sending the Cinderella team Croatia home solidly 3-0. So they're done. So we move on to the next game on Thursday.
Well, we definitely got to get back into that. But as always, we'll be going around the sports landscape, talking about the biggest stories, some major injuries in the National Football League.
Yes.
Some deaths also. So we'll get into that more and more here on Timeout. And also, we will be giving each other timeouts when we feel like we're out of line or something is out of line. So I tell you what, let's start out with Mr. J.C. Allen up here to report, talking about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. JC, welcome to Timeout here live on 24 Flix. How you doing tonight, my friend?
Doing great. Happy to be here. Love the show. And excited to chop it up and talk some Bucs with you guys.
Awesome.
Yeah, and you're real disappointing on Sunday, of course, against the San Francisco 49ers as the Bucs fall 35-7 to Mr. Irrelevant Brock Purdy. Let's start there. How surprised were you by that result? I mean, 7 points. And really, it starts with this team at the end of the day scoring 30 last year and just having all kinds of difficulty, JC, scoring not only on big plays, but also red zone opportunities.
Yeah, I think you were being a little nice there when you said they fell to the 49ers. They got walloped by the 49ers. And, you know, I was a little surprised. I thought this would be more of a low-scoring game. I actually predicted the Bucs to win. I don't know. What was I thinking? But I thought it would be closer to a 17-10, 13-10 type of score. This Bucs defense is pretty good. But then once the injuries started hitting, Vita Vea dropped. And then you had guys like Joe Tryon-Shoyinka go. Jamal Dean went down. And really off the get that, they came out aggressive. They got to the quarterback, but they got a little too high at the quarterback, got the penalty. That set them back. The holding penalty on Donovan Smith wiping out a Mike Evans touchdown held them back. And then, quite frankly, two decisions, really the one to start the game, deferring and not receiving the ball first to try to get out to a quick start against this really tough San Francisco 49ers defense was kind of puzzling, but then also the 55-yard field goal attempt with Ryan Succop, who's never hit 55 in his career. During his career long was actually this year, 54 years. And pregame, he was only hitting from 51. At that point, you either pin Brock Purdy back, or if you're going to go for it, you go for it. You put the ball in Tom Brady's hands on 4th and 9, and it's a turnover on downs, whether he misses it, whether the field goal misses, which it did anyways. So, there's not too many bright spots to come out of that game. Devin Tompkins is a returner. Had a 54-yard run back, longest in like 10 years for the Bucs. So that was a bright spot. Anthony Nelson, you really saw him come on. He had that forced fumble. Would have had an interception if not for a flimsy holding call on Carlton Davis. But for the most part, this Bucs team, they've got 4 games left. They really need to dig deep if they're going to win this NFC South, make it to the playoffs, and really kind of get their ticket punched to the dance.
What's happened to this team? Because they were a 13-win squad last year. Now they're 6-7. I mean, in your opinion, is it Tom Brady? Has he seen his best days? Is it the offensive line? Is it coaching? Is it the play calling? What is it, in your opinion, with this Tampa Bay Buccaneer team in 2022?
It's hard to put a finger on. I don't think it's Tom Brady because he's played exceptionally well. He's had some bad throws, overthrows, underthrows, but he's been pressured a lot this season. There's been a lot of players coming after him on the defensive side of the ball, whether it's on the defensive line, rushing with 4 extra blitzes from the linebacker and secondary. We saw he almost got it decapitated by Jimmy Ward if it wasn't for Leonard Fournette throwing his body at the last second. So that's been a part of his thing. But I think what it boils down to really is coaching. And we've talked about this before, Peter, is the coaching on this team has become just really bland and vanilla. They're only running about 10 to 15 plays a game. It starts really with first down runs, running the ball on first down with limited success, setting them up in second and long, third and long situations where the teams know what's coming. We see them sniffing out screens every week because if they're not running the ball, they're tossing it to a screen or dumping it out real quick because the pressure Tom's under. And a lot of that, the offensive line, definitely, you're missing 2 Pro Bowlers and Ryan Jensen and now 3 Pro Bowlers with Tristan Wirfs injured and Ali Marpet retired. You're missing Gronkowski, who is a heck of an inline blocker that doesn't get enough credit for that. So you're missing some pieces on that line. But part of the problem with the line too now is they've played adequately in a lot of these games. Is that teams know what they're doing. They're running on first down. They're loading the box. They're sending extra guys in there. Too many guys for the O-line to block, and they're stopping the run, whether either in the backfield or for a minimal gain of 1 to 3 yards for the most part. They've had some explosive plays. And
so,
then,
JC, what were you thinking? What do you think what the difference was when Tom seemed to take over towards the end of those couple games where they fought and came back? I mean, was he just playing outside of the box?
It's play calling and sequencing. That's exactly what it is. It's, and that leads back to this previous point where when Tom's out there 2-minute drill and when he's in the hurry up, he's out there calling the plays. He's not Peyton Manning by any means. He's not a field general. When the plays are called in the huddle, when they're going strictly huddle up, he's going to run those plays. Now he'll audible out of these situations sometimes, but he's not one to go rogue and just say, forget what Byron's saying. Let's do this, let's do that. Contrary to reports that came out by Mike Silver recently, he, saying that he's making tweaks that the coaching staff didn't know about. And again, so when those first down runs are coming, they're loading the box, second, third down, they're, sending their 4 or sending an extra guy to get after Tom. And it's creating all kinds of problems where he's not having time to develop that chemistry and throw the ball deep. And, that's been one of the biggest things is play sequencing and not utilizing what they're good at, right? Pre-snap motion. We barely see them utilize that unless it's Keith motioning to the other side to block on a first down. Play action, which they're one of the best teams in the league, and they utilize it at such a low rate. So those situations that they have, using Mike Evans in a way that really doesn't suit his style. He is not a deep threat burner type go. He's a contested catch guy, but he's not a guy who's going to beat the man off the line of scrimmage all the time. That's what you got Scotty for, and you're not utilizing that. Chris Godwin's still coming back from that ACL, struggling to get separation on some plays. And the whole team's dealing with dropsies too. So there's a lot that's contributing to it. I think when you look at this team, the focal point is on the offense, and it's on the offense for a reason. And I've been talking about this all week and even stretching the last week. If the Bucs had scored 22 points in every single one of their games, they're sitting at 10-3 right now, not 6-7 and fighting to even win the division. So, I mean, there's a lot of things that go into it, but it all starts on the offense. Defense can play better, but they played well enough for them to win.
How surprised are you that connection with Mike Evans is not working? Because the last 2 years, it's been one of the best in the National Football League. And now, for some reason, it doesn't seem like it's working. Is it timing? Is it the offensive line not giving Brady enough time? Is it that Evans is hurt? What is it in your opinion?
It's a little bit, everyone's banged up at this point. I don't think Evans is dealing with anything that's like he's not on that injury report. He's practicing every week. It's not something that's going to limit him to the point where he's going to be ineffective. What I think goes back to kind of what I just said. The way they're utilizing him is not a way that he's been utilized a lot in the past as a deep threat guy. And really, the problem here is where Byron Leftwich, the offensive coordinator, has really been exposed is he hasn't made enough changes, whether it's been pre-snap motion, whether it's been play action. The biggest part is what they're running out here is best on best ball. And the Bucs don't have that talent right now. They don't. The talent in the NFL, as we've seen the parity especially this season, is off the charts. And guys are able to step up, and teams teams just know what the Bucs are running. They know what they're doing. So at a time last year and the year before when you had AB and Gronk and 3 Pro Bowls on the line, yes, you could run out your best guys because there would be a mismatch somewhere. That's not the case. You don't have Gronk. You don't have AB, who was playing, quite frankly, before he got hurt in the whole suspension and the Jets debacle. He was playing as a top 10 wide receiver in the league. His ability to separate is uncanny and always has been. So you were able to find those mismatches. This year, you don't have that. And the stubbornness of this coaching staff to go along with the first down runs and the predictability on the play calling is they're not doing enough to scheme guys open. And that includes Mike Evans. The way they're utilizing him now, the way they're not utilizing him as far as scheming him open and scheming Godwin and these other guys going. That's been a huge part of it. The dump offs, the screen passes, those are only so successful. And if you're putting enough of that on tape, teams are going to be able to pick that up and realize what's going on. There's just no creativity in this offense, and that's leaked over to Tom and Mike's connection. Also, I mean, they've just been off. I mean, the throws have been off, underthrown, overthrown behind him. There's just been, for whatever reason, there's been a little bit of disconnect between the two. I think they still have the ability to switch it back on. They have 4 games, needs 200 yards, hit 1,000 for the 9th straight year. And again, once you're in the dance, anything can happen. You can never rule out Tom Brady, especially if you look at some of the quarterbacks and some of the teams he might be facing, which, let's face it, the NFC, they've got the Eagles at the top, but everybody else, there's question marks all the way down the line. Even those Vikings who look so good, but just got their butt whips by Detroit recently. So, you just got to put the ticket punch the ticket into the dance and hope that cohesiveness will come back together. Talking to one of the former wide receivers that used to be on this team last year, he's I don't know what's going on. These guys have played together for years. It's like they just, they're just off. They're not on the right page. And, you have to think that they can get there. But it's going to start with, coaching, and putting them in the right positions to consistently succeed.
With that being said, Tom Brady, how surprised were you, JC, by that report on Sunday that there's a possibility that not only he could come back, but also keep his options open? A lot of pundits out there would say San Francisco. You've heard New Orleans. I mean, it almost feels like people are trying to suggest that Brady doesn't love the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and the Bucs, in the same case, don't love Tom Brady. I mean, talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, I think, reports are going to come out. Reports are reports. I have heard that all options are on the table for him. He's not, putting in the retirement paperwork. He's not, opposed to coming back to Tampa. The thing about it all comes down. First of all, I don't think he's one to jump around from team to team. I don't think we're going to see Tom Brady in 3 different uniforms in his career. One of the biggest points of him choosing Tampa was proximity to family, not his parents, but proximity to his son, Jack, in New York. And now, since the divorce with Giselle is being finalized and she's building a home in Miami, Vivi and Benny are going to live in Miami and Tampa at the same time if he chooses to remain to stay here. Vegas has come up with Josh McDaniels as an obvious connection, and San Francisco as his hometown. I just don't think I don't see him putting that strain on his family that's already there now that, they're product of a divorced home, separated home. And flying his kids out to San Francisco, flying his kids out to Vegas, and not being able to see them because it's a work week, or jumping on a jet right after Monday, right when he lands back in Tampa on Monday, and jumping on a jet to spend his off day Tuesday in Miami. I think that's a lot, and I just don't see that as a plausible theory. New Orleans, there might be a little bit of, I don't even know if there's traction. I know he's got a lot of respect for Sean Payton, but he's got a lot of respect for a lot of these guys. So I think whether he comes back or not, I think it's pretty much Tampa Bay or bust. Proximity to home. I think he loves the guys he's around in that room. And I think that if it'll mostly probably depend on an offensive coordinator change. Who are they going to bring in? Does he want to play for them? He's going to learn a new system no matter where he goes. So it's not like there's going to be continuity there, but there'll be continuity with the area, continuity with the players. He's a 40, 35-minute private jet plane ride down to Miami, a 2.5-hour jet to New York. You don't want to add another 3 hours to that, just as 4 hours to that, just to be able to see your kids on a, not everyday basis, but, frequently at least. So I think it's either the Bucs or Fox. I don't really see many other options being really viable at this point.
Question. What do you think, since they're in because they're at the top of the division, do you see any of the other teams in this horrible division even threatening to take the top spot?
Carolina's kind of turned it on right now. They have the tiebreaker right now over the Bucs. So as the story goes, if the Bucs lose against the Bengals, lose against the Cardinals, and lose against the Falcons, and the Panthers win and they have the same record, well, the Panthers are going into the playoffs. So I think the Panthers are probably the team to really watch out for. I don't necessarily think the Saints, they do. I mean, all of the teams have a shot. That's how bad this division is right now.
Yeah.
If we're looking at one of the teams that, the Falcons just made the switch to Desmond Ridder, rookie quarterback. He's got some growing pains. Kyle Pitts isn't there. They got Drake London, but that's about it on offense. Cordero Patterson, since his stint on IR, hasn't been the same player. Andy Dalton's a quarterback with the Saints. Say no more. I don't think he's going to lead them to a playoff berth. So I think Carolina's a team you got to watch out for. The Bucs really need to go 3-1 in this next stand, and considering that one loss being potentially Cincinnati. But
Yeah.
Brady's on to Cincinnati now, and they could be down 2 of their top weapons at wide receiver position. But the Bucs could be down, 4 of their top secondary players, 5. So I mean, you look at it, kind of weighs out, and it's their second to last home game of the year. They really need to come out and show, hey, this is the team we want to be. They don't have it. It's funny because we're here in December, midway through December by that too. And, we don't know what identity this Tom Brady team has. And it's just something that we haven't seen ever, really. I mean, even that 2002 team where he missed the playoffs that one year, 2008 was an anomaly. They finished 11-5. He was on IR, but they still were. I mean, they finished 11-5 with Matt Castle. But, with Brady at the helm, they lost on a tiebreaker. So you look at, this is uncharted waters for Tom Brady in his career, being under 500 this late in the season. But you have to think that, the message in the locker room is clear, and hey, this is our destiny now. We control our destiny. If we win these next games, then we even have a home game. And probably end up facing the Cowboys at home. We got to feel comfortable. We beat them twice in the last 2 years. They have to come here. So it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out, but we're going to see just how bad this Bucs team wants it, even dealing with all the injuries and such. They've got to come out and play their best football for 60 minutes, which is something we haven't seen all year on any phase of the game. And really solidify saying, hey, this is ours for the taking and we're going to take it. So it's remained to be seen. We haven't seen it. We'll see if we see it this weekend against the Bengals.
How much do you think this team, JC, misses BA Bruce Arians with the no risk it, no biscuit? Because you talk about identity, and once again, they're trying to find it. They've been trying to find it all year long. So how much do you think they miss BA?
I think they miss Gronk more, to be honest with you. I think they miss Marpet more, to be honest with you. BA has been very hands-off the last 2 years. Ever since Tom came in, he kind of said, all right, Byron, you called the defense. You were doing that anyway. I mean, Bowles, you called the defense. You were doing that anyways. Byron, it's your time. We work with the GOAT. You're calling the offense. The red marker maybe came out and, some things, and he was probably involved in the offense, after the game plan was set, and say, okay, this looks good. This looks good. And for the most part, he was just managing the game on Sundays. He had no real input on the game plan. He wasn't calling plays. It's been Byron the whole time. But again, there's a difference there because the talent they had, the talent level, they could go out there and run man on man. We're going to best on best. We're going to put our guys out there. There's going to be a mismatch somewhere. Tom's the best in the game at finding that mismatch, and we're going to exploit you. Well, they don't have that talent this year. So now Byron's been exposed, and he's refused for whatever reason to change his style, to change the play calling, to change the sequencing, all these things that, could make this offense is still loaded. The line has given them enough time. If they change what they're doing sequencing wise, the defense has got to change what they're doing. They can't load the box on first down. They can't send extra rushers or have their 4 rushers that they're rushing with just instead of maintaining gap integrity. And we got to play for the run, as well, and rush and having those double things going on their mind. Okay, well, we got to rush the quarterback now, but we also have to, keep our gap integrity in case they do run it on second and third down. And second and third long, I mean, what's coming. They have to pass it. So you're just being able to focus on just attacking. And if they change that up, it's going to give the offensive line a break. It's going to let them hold their blocks longer because there's unpredictability now on that offense. And pre-snap motion, confusing, setting up getting different looks, scheming guys open, and also play action. You want to run it so bad, and you're running it on every first down. We'll throw some play action, throw some more play action. Go hurry up and up tempo in the middle of a drive. Throw them off. There's so many different things as a fan. I mean, my wife is not the most football in tune, but she's like, why do they keep running it on first down? It's not working. Like it's just anyone can see it. And if you ask Byron about it, he's going to say, we call the plays we call, what's EPA and we just do what we feel like is the best, and you got to score points. This isn't fantasy football. Well, maybe you should start playing like it's fantasy football, because first of all, Mike Evans owners are PO'd right now because of his stats over the season, and just the offense isn't working. This has the talent to score, even if there's a regression, right? 23, 24, 25 points a game instead of the 30. 23 points, you're 10-3 right now. You see what I'm saying? So it's just stubbornness from the offensive coordinator, Byron Leftwich. Execution's huge too. Guys have dropped balls. Brady's missed some throws, but not enough to the point where I think that they couldn't overcome it had play calling been, creative or less predictable.
Good stuff. JC Allen up here to report. Go ahead and promote yourself here on Timeout on 24 Flix.
Yeah, you guys, I love being on the show. Thank you for having me. Definitely have to do this again. Great questions. I hope I delivered great answers for you and your fans. But you can follow me on Twitter at JC Allen NFL, JCALLEN NFL on Twitter. All of my work's over at Pewter Report, so check us out over there. Check us out on Pewter Report TV on YouTube. And thanks for having me again, guys. Appreciate it.
There you go. JC Allen of Pewter Report. Check him out. Thanks a lot for your time, my friend. All right?
Always.
All right, there you go. So, Chris, we learned a lot about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the dysfunction that is going on with this team this year, 6-7, and absolutely getting clobbered by the San Francisco 49ers. And I said, look, I think this team is a Super Bowl team. I got to time myself
out. Yeah, absolutely. That was such a depressing report. If I was a Bucs fan, I'm kind of a Bucs fan, but if I was a true diehard Bucs fan, man, I don't know. I'd be pretty depressed after listening to that. It seems pretty hopeless unless there's change, is basically what he's saying. I mean, I get frustrated seeing them run on first down every single game and seeing Fournette just crash into a wall and getting 2 yards.
2 yards in a cloud of dust at the end of the day.
Second and long. Yep. Over and over again. Drop pass after that, and then they're done, Yep.
They cannot convert 3rd and 10 this year. They don't have any 20-yard plays down the field. They're struggling offensively. And on top of it, I think, in my opinion, Tom Brady has seen his best days. He can't necessarily make all the throws he used to. And plus, the offensive line is not giving him the time. So let me ask you, how do you think they should fare, or how do you think they will fare versus the Cincinnati Bengals on Sunday, Chris?
The Bengals are on fire. I mean, they are, like we said, Burrow has got his boy back. And once he's got his boy back, Jamar Chase, he's on fire. And they are just bowling through teams. I mean, they did play Cleveland last week, but they did manage to gut out a decent win, a solid win, 23-10 over the Browns. Deshaun Watson still trying to figure his way out. But Jamar Chase, 10 receptions, 119 yards, 1 touchdown. I mean, it's solid. He's there, and he can count on him. So, and they're just still tuning up, getting used to each other. It's going to get better and better on that side for sure.
I'll tell you what, let's move off the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and go to another local team that struggled on Sunday night versus the LA Chargers, and that would be the Miami Dolphins, losing 23-17. And this, of course, featured a matchup of 2020 draft picks. Of course, Tua being the 5th overall pick, Justin Herbert being the 6th. And definitely Justin Herbert won this matchup, not only his team, but statistically throwing for over 300 yards. You look at his numbers. 38 for 51, 367 with 1 touchdown. And overall, a lot of people have said the Miami Dolphins should have drafted a Justin Herbert because 90 touchdowns, 32 interceptions in his short career. And of course, Tua finally healthy this year, 49 touchdowns, 20. So what do you think about the Miami Dolphins? Because what I see from them on that Sunday night versus the Chargers, even without a Joey Bosa, the pressure got to Tua, and he's a totally different quarterback. I mean, only throwing for 145 yards and 1 touchdown with an explosive offense, it is not going to get it done. And we talked about this last week, Chris. When you don't have an offensive line consistently, you're missing those big-time players. It's definitely going to affect your offense, and it did.
Absolutely, and you called it. You gave me a timeout. I'll take that. I'll take
Yes.
that because you did say because of the line. I thought Tua had more time this week than he did against San Francisco, but I don't know, man. I thought he had enough to get stuff done, but he didn't. Only 145 yards. They also held him in rushing to 28 yards. So his escape clause that he uses frequently was not there for him. So I mean, what do you think the problem was? Was it the pressure again?
I think it's definitely in the pressure, and if it's getting to him, he's a different quarterback, and
Yeah.
I think it always goes down to you could show me a quarterback that's going to be able to win, and when they're winning, of course, everything's great, but when they have that adverse situation, which I think this is the reason why you draft a franchise quarterback in the first place on a bad team, how can he do in that adverse situation? How can he go through that adversity? And Tua has shown throughout his career, not only is he an injury red flag, he hasn't been able to stay healthy for the full time. But with that being said, when he's pressured like every other quarterback, he definitely folds. And for me, that is going to be the big time key. Now, they've lost 2 in a row. That would be the Dolphins. They fell to 8-5. Any concern about this team going forward? I mean, looking like an AFC juggernaut at some points during the year. But now with those major injuries to the offensive line, you concerned, Chris?
Still in the number 2 slot for let me see the conference. They're still in pretty good shape. They're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down at 8-5. But I mean, a lot of 7-6 teams are right behind them. So it's getting me a little nervous with the Dolphins and what they're looking at.
Yeah, and to update the AFC playoff standings, the Bills are 10-3 as they disposed of the Jets after the Jets beat them earlier on a couple of weeks ago. The Chiefs now at 10-3 as they beat the Denver Broncos. You have the Ravens at number 3 there at 9-4. The Titans at 7-6. Bengals at 9-4. The Dolphins at 8-5, and the Chargers in that conversation at 7-6. And we'll see if they can continue. And the other teams that are in it, the Jets at 7-6, and the Patriots, which just won the other night over the Arizona Cardinals. So out of that bunch of teams, who's the scariest in your opinion, Chris, and why?
I'm always scared of Bill Belichick, even though they don't have the talent, but they can sneak through and get the wins that they need because of his scheming. The Jets, I mean, it's the quarterback, Mike White. He's a hero, yeah, but it's really sad up there because they won't even touch Watson at this point. Zach Wilson, I'm sorry, they won't touch him, even if they're desperate. They won't touch him, which is crazy. But they I would say the Jets. I wish the Jags were in a better position because they're actually playing on the upside. They're taking out the Titans. They had a good game this week, but I'm saying the Patriots, Chargers. I don't trust them yet. They're still up and down. They look like a threat against the Dolphins this week, but what happens next week? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough because they've been injured all year long. And whether it's wide receivers, defensive ends, if it's Joey Bosa, if it's Khalil Mack, if it's Justin Herbert himself, they have been off injured. That's the reason why you don't have any consistency from this team. And that's the reason why some people are talking about, possibly not only being a playoff contender, but also missing out on the playoffs because they can't stay healthy consistently. If they can, they have all the talent in the world. And of course, they got one of the best signal callers out there and Justin Herbert. Speaking of the Jacksonville Jaguars, they've been on a hot streak. They're now 5-8 as they beat the Tennessee Titans 36-22. Major story in this game, I think it is the progression in the second year of a Trevor Lawrence. 30 for 42, 368, 3 touchdowns. And for the year here, Chris, 20 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. The Titans are a good team, and they may win their division, but not last Sunday. The Jaguars showing you something and showing you flashes of brilliance and a lot of potential with Mr. Lawrence.
Yes, and they overcame 121 yards from Derrick Henry and held them to 1 touchdown.
Sure.
So I told you, they're coming. The Jags are coming. Like Dion said, they're coming. But you can see it. some of the passes he's made in the past few weeks, threading the needle, pinpoint sharp. I mean, he's still got to make the rookie mistakes, even though he's in his second, third year. But he's coming. He's got the talent there. It's just developing and getting used to being in these situations that he has to work through. But yeah, the Jags, it'll be interesting to see how they finish out the year.
And what they do finishing out the year, I think will carry over. If they do have that momentum going into next year, in your opinion, do you feel like this team could be a playoff contender, break up the Jacksonville Jaguars in 2023? Or do I deserve a timeout for that?
No, I think you're on point. I think they will be a playoff contender. I'm sure they'll add some pieces. They look more attractive now, winning finally, and not having those putrid games that they used to. So I think the Jags will be a playoff team. They have the Eagles Christmas Eve, 24th.
Wow, Christmas Eve game. So
in Dallas. So yeah.
How do you like your chances in that game?
I don't trust them. I think the Eagles have been blowing everyone away. I think they'll give them a game, but I think the Eagles like I said, I'm counting that as a loss.
All right, to go into the NFC here, you have the Commanders at 6-7-5-1, the Giants 7-5-1. The Giants seem like right now they're not playing the best football. In fact, they seem like they're on the decline. But the team to watch out for, the Detroit Lions. What are your thoughts on them? Because in this stretch, Jared Goff, 8 touchdowns, no interceptions. In fact, there was a report last week that the Lions may not even draft a quarterback in this upcoming draft because they like Jared Goff so much. Is that a mistake? Did they deserve a timeout? And can the Lions do what a lot of people didn't think they could do at the beginning of the season, make the playoffs, Chris?
The Lions not drafting a quarterback, that's a timeout. I'm not sure what the deal was with Jared Goff this year. He was horrible for half of the year. He's come through in the last 3 or 4 games and really turn things around, but I don't trust him. I'm sorry. A zebra is not going to change his stripes. What do you think changed as far as the Lions offense to give Jared more success? Because they turned around like after a few weeks.
I think it's just confidence. I think you're getting the time for that offensive line. Everybody is starting to buy into Dan Campbell. They're starting to buy into that grit mentality. On top of it, you're using those 2 splendid running backs that they have in a Jamal Williams, who's a bulldozer at the goal line, who has as many touchdowns or more touchdowns than the Houston Texans this year, which is amazing in itself. And, of course, the young guy in DeAndre Swift. They have lots of weapons there. You have weapons on the outside, and that defense is starting to play better. And once again, their bugaboo at the beginning was to finish off games. They're starting to finish off those games. They're learning how to win as a young team. And that's
seems like it. Yeah, learning how to win. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So I feel good for Detroit to finally have some good news, man. I felt bad for them losing for so long. It seemed like an automatic every year. So good for Detroit.
Yeah, definitely good for Detroit. So in your opinion, are they going to make the playoffs? Are they going to be the last team that makes the playoffs? Are the Giants going to be the team that falters and the Lions are going to take over that spot, in your opinion? Or one of these spots?
I'd love to see that happen, but I don't think Detroit will make the playoffs because they are Detroit.
Okay. Recent reports would suggest that Sean Payton, who coached the Saints last year and retired this year, wants to get back into coaching and could be interested. Reports are the LA teams more than anything else, the LA Chargers, the LA Rams, or just going back to the Saints. Now, of course, the Saints own his rights. What do you think is more likely at this juncture? For him to stay in LA because he is a Fox Sports analyst, go with the Rams, or possibly the Chargers, or come back to the New Orleans Saints?
Wow. Saints would be very, very interesting. He left because he wanted a break, right? Mm-hmm. That's why he said he left.
Sure.
Excuse me. Not because anything with the team or being disgruntled. He just wanted a break. I would say probably the Chargers.
The Chargers, okay. And I certainly think that's a possibility, of course, with a young quarterback like Justin Herbert. And if the Chargers miss out on the playoffs and they underachieve once again, because you look at his career so far. He's got the numbers, but the coaching is not getting it done there. Then certainly that would be a great fit. Now, of course, there was a flirtation last year with Peyton possibly going to the Miami Dolphins. Of course, the problem with that at the time is he was still under contract with the Saints, possibly joining Tom Brady. That didn't work out. I'm going to give you a timeout because this was a good opportunity for you to say that if the Cowboys falter, which you don't necessarily have that much confidence, I believe Sean Payton will be the next coach of the Dallas Cowboys. Chris, what do you think about that?
That would be a dream come true. I didn't even consider it because they're doing so well. I really don't like the coach now, but I really would love to have Sean Payton back in Dallas for sure. Absolutely.
So there you go. That's around the NFL. Another key note here: Kyler Murray was hurt on the third play on Monday Night Football against the New England Patriots. It's a torn ACL coming into the year, 14 and 7 interceptions. It's been an up and down year because he got a contract extension, but definitely the Cardinals have underachieved. In fact, Chris, they're the third oldest team in the league this year. So with that being said, is Cliff Kingsbury on the hot seat with them being 4-9 right now?
Absolutely. The seat doesn't get any hotter. He is definitely on the hot seat. I mean, they have been so awful this year. It's like, no, you never expect them to win. Kyler, they don't know what to do with Kyler. He's small, so you have to have a particular offense for him. But when he's not there half the time and getting hurt, it's not working out the way he's using him. And it's sad because he's got a lot of talent. He's very special talent, but man, he's getting knocked around. This one, he wasn't touched. He just made a cut and his knee popped, and that was it. He was down, which is, what are you going to do?
Right, which is always the risk with a mobile quarterback, especially a one. I mean, that's the problem with it. That's the reason why you're going to have to learn to throw from the pocket consistently. And I'm not sure how it's going to affect his career. Of course, he's still young, but you're always worried about torn ACLs because it at least takes a year to a year and a half, even 2 years to recover from that. And once again, going back to it, the Cardinals are the third oldest team in the National Football League, which means, there's going to be big time changes, especially if this team doesn't start winning. And it certainly doesn't seem like it's going to happen this year. I tell you what, let's shift gears to the National Basketball Association and the NBA. They made an announcement today. Michael Jordan, he's actually going to be, the NBA is naming the MVP after Michael Jordan. Jordan was a 5-time MVP winner during his 15-season career. Only Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, for whom the league's Social Justice Champion Award is named, won more MVP trophies and 6. Is this the right move by the NBA to do this?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think it's a good choice. They did show the trophy today, and Jordan specifically asked that the trophy doesn't look like him so that the person winning it can imagine themselves in it. But it's like a player reaching up to score in a crystal basketball. At the end of it, it's 23.2 inches high and weighs 23 pounds. So imagine that. The numbers line up perfectly. So congratulations. I think that's fabulous.
Now, there's always the debate that rages on, especially in social media and pundits out there, especially national ones, saying that Michael Jordan is not the greatest of all time, that it's either LeBron James or Kobe Bryant. With this move by the league, does this basically kill that whole debate and say Michael Jordan is the greatest of all time with being named for an MVP award?
No, because I'm team LeBron. I think LeBron is the greatest player ever because he can do more because of his size. That's the difference. They're different players. Jordan is super clutch and almost unbeatable. LeBron has so many skills and is right there with him. So I think I'm team LeBron as far as the greatest player ever. So you can go ahead and time out me if you want, because I'm sure it's coming. But that's my opinion.
Time out. There's only one statistic on this show that means something, and that's 6-0 in the finals. All the MVPs plus He also got Defensive Player of the Year. That's one thing LeBron James cannot say he has. He was a total
True.
complete player. Not saying LeBron is not great. He's just not the greatest of all time, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
All right. The other awards, not only named by the NBA, the Hakeem Olajuwon Trophy for Defensive Player of the Year, Wilt Chamberlain Trophy for Rookie of the Year, the John Havlicek, Trophy for the Sixth Man of the Year, and the George Mikan Trophy for Most Improved Player. Going back to Hakeem Olajuwon, does he
Yes.
get enough respect as a big man? Because I remember early on in his career, or during the prime of his career, when Shaq went against him with the Orlando Magic,
Right.
he basically took Shaq to school. Why don't more
Yes.
people talk about Hakeem Olajuwon being one of the greatest in the league?
He's talked about by players. I'll tell you that, because a lot of the great big men that have played since him all go to Hakeem down to Houston to train with Houston. He wasn't a big flashy guy like Shaq. Shaq gets way more pub than Hakeem does, but it seems that he's pulled back away from the spotlight. But he's obviously, I mean, really one of the greatest big men of the year. Do they have they named the Offensive Player of the Year award yet?
I do not see that. I don't think
I
they
didn't see it
changed
either.
that at all, but it's interesting to note that Nikola Jokovic will retroactively receive the first version of the new trophy after being named the MVP last season.
Oh,
Deserving?
Joker, huh?
Yeah, Joker. Deserving
Yeah.
of that? Yeah.
His stats blow everyone else away. That's the funny thing. It may not be exciting. It may not be maybe kind of boring. He doesn't fly like Ja Morant and do acrobatic things, but
Right.
he's solid on offense and defense. Definitely the most valuable player when it comes to numbers, hands down.
Anything else you've seen in the NBA that you want to talk about, Chris?
Well, my Orlando Magic won 3 straight. They did take out the LA Clippers in overtime last week and then won back-to-back games against Toronto. So they're finally getting themselves together. Paolo Banchero is one of the top rookies ever, one of the first to score 20 points in more than his 15 games starting with the NBA. So that's a big deal coming with Paolo. Other than that, the biggest thing, Pistons Cade Cunningham is going to have season-ending surgery on his shin. He's one of the up-and-coming players that was really helping Detroit. So there you go. So other than that, the NBA is going to be popping off soon. Once all this NFL stuff kind of cools down a little bit, World Cup cools down, NBA is going to be getting a lot more noise.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think going back to Orlando Magic, I mean, it's encouraging to see them with this growth and putting together some wins because, you didn't like the start at the beginning of the season. A lot of fans out there still thinking this team may tank so they can get a number 1 overall pick. But, following in the Magic as long as I have, being a Floridian, which is an anomaly around here, I would like to see the Magic back to when they were winning games with Shaq and Penny, of course, and Dwight Howard. I mean, there were some great years there. They had the opportunity to make the finals a couple times, not win, of course. But it would be nice to get back to that competitive level because you never know. You have enough young talent there at the end of the day. Maybe you can surprise some people and start to compete for possibly an NBA championship. In your opinion, just unbiasedly, how many years do you think it's going to take for the Magic to be a playoff contender and eventually an NBA champion?
Playoff contender, maybe 1 more year. They're still learning each other. Injured, and that's if they stay healthy. That's the problem. They do have a ton of talent. This new swing of wins came from Mo Wagner getting stronger after being out for weeks and weeks, and then Markelle Fultz back at the helm, running the ball up. Cole Anthony moved to the bench and bringing his numbers to the bench scoring. But I think they're 2 or 3 years away from contending for a championship.
All right, I like it. And you talked about the World Cup. You're the soccer guy here. I watched a little bit of the game, but give me those thoughts today because don't cry for me. Argentina, they're not crying right now. Probably crying tears of happiness because they move on by beating Croatia, who was a runner-up 4 years ago, 3-0. And Lionel Messi had a goal at the 34th minute. also set up a couple other chances here. I mean, talk about this game today. And do you think finally that Messi can get it done with Argentina and they can win a World Cup?
He's got a good chance. The game today was pretty awesome. They took out Croatia. The Messi scored on a penalty kick. Someone had driven in and had an open net, and the goalie couldn't stop him, so he stuck his leg out and kicked him in the gut, basically. So that was a free penalty kick. That's how Messi scored. But they were all over. They were all over Croatia the whole game. They were really pushing them and giving them pressure. As soon as they touched the ball, there were players on them. So Argentina came to win for sure. France and Morocco are going at it tomorrow at 2 p.m. That's another game. Morocco, the only team from the Middle East to make it to the quarterfinals. So a lot of people rooting for them. France, the returning champion, and they might be the first team in a number of years to repeat as champion. So either one of those teams is going to be a thrilling final for the Cup.
Yeah, it's interesting to note this is the 25th World Cup game for Messi. Of course, he's never been able to accomplish it. One of the top players, and actually he's the first player since 1966 to have a goal and an assist in 3 games in the same World Cup. And for this whole tournament, he has 8 of the 12 goals for Argentina. So now it seems like he's on a whole different level. He's determined. It kind of made me think here, Chris, about athletes that are trying to win a championship and get over that hump. Who's your favorite one? Mine was Peyton Manning, because so many years they said Peyton Manning could not get over the hump. He could not win the championship. He was a choke artist. And then finally he was able to accomplish that with the Indianapolis Colts down in Miami versus the Chicago Bears. What's yours?
Gosh, my favorite that couldn't get over the hump.
And then finally did it.
We finally did it. Yeah. You know what? I'll go with a coach. Tony
Dungy. Absolutely.
Tony Dungy.
Yes.
Years and years and years, and he finally got it with the Colts. Even though I don't know, does he get credit for Tampa also? That's the question, but definitely Tony Dungy is my favorite that finally won it after coming so close for so many years.
Definitely the Tony Dungy defense. He gets credit for that, but John Gruden gets credit for the offense. That's always the that we talk about on shows here down in Tampa. I love that one. I also love John Elway. 3 Super Bowls, not close at all. Finally gets the running game. Of course, the defense. He gets over the hump. That was also great to see John Elway win a couple of championships there. So
absolutely.
All right, good stuff. So you also wanted to talk about a journalist dying suddenly. Go ahead and talk about Grant Wall.
Yeah, Grant Wall was a journalist, independent journalist. He recently had a podcast with Meadowlark Media, was a writer that was a big proponent of soccer, American soccer around the world, pushing the game and representing the game. And he died suddenly while at Qatar during the Netherlands game week before. And it's just, he died of a heart attack. You can relate to this as a sports broadcaster, as I can, reporting on games. He was one of those guys that was running 24/7, not getting a lot of sleep. The time difference, having to write and report back to the U.S. And he just, it seemed like he did too much. But he was great. He'll be greatly missed. Got a lot of love from his colleagues after his passing, and a lot of honors also. So rest in peace for Grant.
Yeah, Grant was 49 years old. He was covering his 8th World Cup and wrote last Monday he visited a medical clinic while in Qatar. He tested negative for COVID-19 and sought treatments for his symptoms. He went on to say, "My body finally broke down on me. 3 weeks of little sleep, high stress, and lots of work can do that to you. What have been a cold over the last 10 days turned into something more severe on the night of the USA-Netherlands game, and I could feel my upper chest take on a new level of pressure and discomfort. I went into the medical clinic at the main media center today, and they said I probably have bronchitis. They gave me a course of antibiotics and some heavy-duty cough syrup, and I'm already feeling a bit better just a few hours later, but still no bueno. Once again, Grant Wall, 49 years old, also wrote for Sports Illustrated for more than 2 decades and then started his own website, and he was a major voice in informing an American public of soccer during a time of increased interest after the United States hosted the 1994 World Cup. Also in college football, Mike Leach passed away today.
Yes.
From a massive heart attack that he had on Saturday night at 61 years old. Leach, the coach of Mississippi State, consequently getting ready for the ReliaQuest Bowl at Raymond James Stadium on January 2nd, as they're still going to be taking on Illinois. Leach this year, 8-4. Of course, the innovator, in my opinion, and a lot of people's opinions, of the air raid offense. Just amazing statistics if you look, and just an amazing coach with his personality and what he brought to the college football game. And I think his offenses definitely had an impact on the National Football League. Your thoughts on Mike Leach and his passing?
I saw some clips of Mike Leach. He was actually a funny guy, definitely beloved, and it was shocking that he passed this Saturday. Innovative coach for sure. But yeah, he was on with Dan Lebitard and friends all the time, just clowning around. So when he was not coaching, he was down at Key West, and they're talking about life in Key West with Mike Leach. And he's talking about fishing off of his boat. What are you guys doing? Stuff like that. But it's sad to see him go. Definitely sad to see him go.
And it's interesting to note that in all-time college football history, he has a couple of quarterbacks that have big-time numbers. B.J. Simmons in 2003, 5,800 yards for Texas Tech. Of course, he was earlier on coaching them. Graham Harrell, 5,700 yards in 2007. And Graham Harrell again with 5,100 yards. Once again, Mike Leach, rest in peace at 61 years old.
Yes, sir.
Anything else in college football that you want to talk about here on Timeout?
We got a Heisman Trophy winner.
We do. And Caleb Williams. Yes.
Caleb Williams. The only thing of note of that is during the ceremony, it seems like he didn't shake hands with Desmond Howard. Maybe a little Michigan, Ohio State thing going on. I don't know. But congratulations to Caleb. Phenomenal quarterback. Excellent year. Almost got him in, but Utah blew him out. But other than that, congratulations. And we'll see. Maybe we'll see him next year in the NFL.
And I think, Williams, of course, he plays for USC, put up some phenomenal numbers this year and was making some throws that a lot of draft scouts out there would say he could possibly be the next Patrick Mahomes. We'll see what he does this year coming up for USC because I believe he still has a year to go. So the sky's the limit for this kid. I don't know why he wouldn't shake the hand of Desmond.
I don't know either. I don't know either.
So obviously there's maybe something there, or maybe we're focusing too much on that at the end of the day. Howard, as a Heisman Trophy winner, was just amazing in his time.
He was. Absolutely. One of the best.
All right. Anything else here on Timeout, Chris?
I do want to say we want everybody to like and subscribe. To subscribe to 24 Flix. We'll be hit the notification button when new episodes come out. We'll be coming out weekly, trying to post every Wednesday once we got this machine going. So please be sure to come back and check us out in the next episode.
And if you don't check us out, we'll give you a timeout. For Chris Cup here, my co-host, I'm your host, Peter Blake. It's Timeout on 24 Flix. We'll see you next time.